Hi, in this video, we will talk about DBMS. So what is DBMS? DBMS means Database Management System. So as part of this video, we will talk about data. So when you talk about the data, we need to talk about what is database, what is database management, and what is database management system. So we'll talk about all these things in this video. So let's go to the next step. So here I have something. So I'm saying something. I'm not saying data. I'm not saying information. So I have something. So what is that something? I have here 100 Krishna email at gmail.com and a big number. Okay. So this is also a number. This is also a number. These are all strings, or you say a sequence of characters, whatever you want. Okay. So what is this 100? So when you look into this 100, what is this 100? Is this a age of a person or any product price, $100 or 100 rupees? So what is this 100? So Krishna means, what is this? Is the name of any person? We don't know. So what is this email? This email is related to your personal email ID or your professional ID? We don't know. So what is this big number? What kind of number it is? So when you look into this, we cannot say that what is this. So potentially it should become a data. Okay. So it's a data, but how it will become a data? So now you see some meaningful thing again. So 100 is an ID, Krishna is a name, email is official email, and this number, big number, is credit card number. So still, what is this information or what is this thing? These things. Okay. So these are all related to an employee. Okay. So this one employee ID is 100. Name is Krishna. This employee name is Krishna. This employee official email is email@gmail.com. This employee credit card number is from this number. So now you can see a meaningful information. Means what is this 100? This 100 is a particular employee ID. Which employee? Krishna's ID. What is this email? This is Krishna's email. And what is this email? Is Krishna is an employee, so it is an official email. So now you can able to get some meaningful data. Okay, now this 100 is a data now. What kind of data? This is ID of employee. This Krishna is also data. What kind of data? That is name of one employee. What is this email? Official email of particular employee, something like that. So in this, employee is an entity here. Employee is an entity here. ID is this particular entity's attribute, and this 100 is exact value. Okay. So employee is an entity. This entity has different attributes. What are those? ID, name, official email, credit card number. And each attribute has its value. ID is 100, name is Krishna, official email is email@gmail.com, and the credit card number is big number 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 1 0 1 1 1 2 1, something like that. Okay. So then what is entity? What is attribute? What is value? And what exactly data is now? Okay. So data is, now yeah, I'm saying this 100 is data. Krishna is data. This email is data, right? So now the data is value of an attribute of an entity that represents real world fact. Okay. So this is the data. This data is value of this attribute of this employee entity. Okay. Data is value of an attribute of an entity that represents real world fact. Okay. So then what do you mean by entity? So there is a typo. It is not entity. It is entity. Okay. So what do you mean by entity? So in the context of a database, an entity is a distinct object, concept, or a thing that is represented in the database and can be distinguished from other objects. Okay. So in the database context, it is a distinct object and that can be distinguished from other objects. It is typically a noun or noun phrase that represents a real world object or a set of related objects. Okay. So by taking one example, we'll see. For example, in a database for a university, An entity could be a student. So if you're talking about a university database, so in that a possible entity could be a student, a course, a professor, a department, a building. Here entity means it might be a student, a course, a professor, a department, or a building. So each entity represented by a set of attributes or properties that describe the characteristics of that or qualities of that entity. Okay, so each entity will have some characteristics. Those are called attributes. So for instance, a student entity might have attributes. So if you have a student is an entity, it definitely have some attributes. Okay, what are those attributes? Might be his name, his student ID, his address, his date of birth. These are all attributes of a particular entity, that is student here. Okay, so then what is attribute? In a database, an attribute is a characteristic or property of an entity, such as a column in a table. Okay, column in a table. Okay, table consists of columns and rows, right? A column represents an attribute. If a table is an entity, that column is an attribute. Okay, so that we'll see in our next videos. It describes a specific aspect or feature of the entity being represented. It describes a specific aspect or feature of the entity being represented. Okay, for example, in a database for a store, an entity could be a product. In our previous example, we have seen entity is university. Here I'm taking a store as a database. So if that is an entity, if that is a database, the entity is a product here. Okay, so and the attributes of that entity could be include this product name, this product price, this product description, and who manufactured that product, and stock keeping unit number. So these are all different attributes of that entity in a database. Okay, so this is called attribute. Attribute means characteristics of a entity. Now what is the value? In a database, a value is the actual data. You see that? Value is the actual, sorry. Value is the actual data. That is what we have seen in the previous slide, right? Data is value of an attribute of an entity that represents real world fact. Okay, here value is the actual data that is stored in a specific attribute of an entity. All right. So when you see 100, I don't know what is 100. No, it is a value of this ID attribute of an employee entity. Then it became a meaningful real world data. Okay. So stored in a specific attribute of an entity, it represents a specific instance or piece of information that is associated with a particular entity and attribute. For example, if the entity is a customer, now I'm taking entity as a customer. Customer is an entity here, and the attribute is the customer's name, and the value of that attribute for a particular customer could be John Smith. Right? This is the value. Customer is an entity. Customer name is an attribute of this entity, and the value of that name is, I'm taking an example of John Smith. Okay, so this is the value, actual data. Similarly, if the attribute is the customer age, that is one of the attributes, and then the value of the attribute of a particular customer could be, example, 35. This 35 age of this customer. So now this 35 is a meaningful data. Okay, so this is all about value. So you have some data here. Okay, phone number, name, ID, name, official email, credit card number, something like that. Okay, so this is also phone number. So here, let's take an example. You are working in a, there is an organization. It has some employees. That organization asking employees, can you provide this information? Your ID, your name, your official email, your phone number. Okay. So if they're asking this data, so can you expect everybody will give the information in the same format and same what is it, like sequence? So there is no possibility. Okay, there's a less probability for that. So if you have 100 employees, one employee will give his name first, ID second, mail third, and phone number last. So there might be a shuffling. So one person will give name, email, phone number, then at the last ID. So if that is the case, then it is difficult to analyze the data and store the data. So then you need a organized data. So for that you will use some database. Here employee. So here you mention that I need information in this form. First I want ID, then name, then official email, then phone number. If you get the information in this format, it is easy to organize. It is easy to analyze, something like that, whatever you want to do. Okay. So this is organized data. Okay? This is unorganized. They can give in any order. If they provide in any order, it is difficult to analyze the data. Okay. So then this is called database. Implies a database. So database means well organized data. So database refers to a collection of related data that is organized in a structured format and stored in a computer system. So related data. So here all these attributes means ID, name, official email, phone number are related to this employee. I'm not providing something else which is not related to employee. Okay. So database means database refers to a collection of related data that is organized in a structured format and stored in a computer system. So if you store something like this, what is the advantage? Just now we are discussing, right? We need to analyze or something like that. So data consistency and integrity, data sharing and accessibility, efficient data storage and retrieval, data security, data backup and recovery, data analysis and reporting. So if you have a organized data, you can perform all these things. Okay, you can perform all these things. So that is the advantage of database. Database means well organized data. If you have well organized data, you can retrieve the data, you can store the data efficiently. Just an example. Okay, go to the database management. Okay, so database management refers to the process of organizing, storing, retrieving, updating, and maintaining data in database. Okay, with the help of database management, you will organize the data, you can store the data, you can retrieve the data, you can update the stored data, and you can maintain the data in a database. So for that, there should be a system, database management system. System means set of rules to follow. So ensure data validation, sharing of data, concurrency control, sharing of resources, ensuring data consistency. So if you have a set of rules, you can provide the proper information. So ensure data validation. If you take an example of that, ID should be a number. I cannot store in the ID some HUNDRED, something like that, 100. Okay. So 101, something like that I cannot store. Okay. That's how you can do validation means it should accept only integer values, not the characters or strings. So that kind of rules you can put on that particular database and you can follow those. Then you will have you can store proper information inside that. Okay. So now what is database? Sorry, now that what is database management system now? So a database management system is a software application that manages and organizes data stored in a database. It provides tools for creating, updating, querying, and maintaining a database. A database management system is used to ensure data integrity and security as well as to optimize the storage and retrieval of data. So with the help of database management system, it's a kind of tool. With the help of the tool, you can perform all these things. What we discussed till now. What is that? Creating, updating, querying, maintaining, all these things. So the database is where the actual data is stored. Database means it's a store. You can store somewhere your data. That is called database. The DBMS acts as an intermediary between the database and the application, providing tools for interacting with the data. Okay. The DBMS acts as an intermediary between your database and the application, providing tools for interacting with the data. Okay. So you have some data stored somewhere, and your application needs very specific information. So very specific means, if you go back to this simple table, so I want name of a particular person whose ID is 100. I am putting some condition. I don't want all the information. I want only a person whose ID is 100. Then how you can retrieve the data? This is database. You organize the data, well organized, is stored somewhere. But how to retrieve the particular information? So with the help of DBMS tools, you can perform those kind of operations. Okay. So what are the examples of DBMS? There are n number of tools are available in the market, but I just listed here only few which are very famous. MySQL, Microsoft SQL Server, SQLite, MongoDB, Oracle Database, PostgreSQL, something like that. Okay. So as part of this video series, we'll use MySQL and we'll create the database, we'll retrieve the data, all these things we'll see with the help of MySQL. Okay. So this is all about DBMS. Okay, thank you for watching this video. Please like the video, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for interesting content. Thank you.